Hey guys, Doug B here, your average axe-wielding hack. You know, backup gear is not something that we think about very often, but we should. Let's look into it. Unless you've been really lucky, at some point in your career, some gear will fail at a gig. As they say, shit happens. So while it may not be inevitable, it's best to plan for the possibility of gear dying at the gig. What would you do if your Fractal modeler all of a sudden went belly up while you were on stage? What are your options? Well, you can always try rebooting and see if that fixes it, but what if it doesn't? Do you pack up and go home? Not if you want to play there again. So while it's no fun, it is a good idea to have something to fill in with, just in case. If you're lucky, you'll never have to use it. So you don't want to spend a boatload of money on it, but you also don't want to just plug into a Behringer dirt pedal and then plug that into the PA either. There should be a happy medium, right? I came up with a budget of $100 to $300. Remember, this is something you might never use, so unless you're a touring band with deep pockets, you can't easily replicate your rig. Now, of course, $300 won't buy something that sounds as good as your Fractal modeler, but hopefully it only needs to get you through the rest of the gig. Here are the choices that I found. You may know of some more. The Hawtone Ampera 1, the Line 6 M5 Stomp Box modeler, the Line 6 Pocket Pod, the Moore GE150 and GE200, the NUX Amp Academy, MG-30, MG-100, MG-300, and MG-400, the Valiton GP100, and the Zoom G1X. Now, I don't have the time nor the funds to buy and test all of those, so after checking out a bunch of reviews, I settled on the NUX MG-300. I could have sprung for the NUX MG-400 because it has scenes and 2 more foot switches, but it uses the same audio engine as the MG-300 and it costs $70 more. Now, that might be important for you, and if you're okay with the added expense, go for it. So is the NUX MG-300 usable? Let's see. It has firmware that you can update, and the most recent is 3.10.13. It also has an editor, QuickTone, and the most recent version is 2.1.10.12. It looks like these came out in October of 21. Right out of the box, the MG-300 wouldn't connect with the QuickTone editor. I was ready to return it and posted about it in the MG-300 thread at the gear page. Fremen came to my rescue and told me to do the firmware update first, and that then it will connect. He was right. I'm guessing that the editor is tied to a specific firmware version. But it seems like they could have put an update firmware first message somewhere in the documentation. Now, if you find yourself missing the good old operating system update processes of the 90s, the firmware update process for this modeler will help fill that nostalgic void. On top of that, once you're done with the firmware update, you must recalibrate the expression pedal or you'll get no audio. The manual makes no mention of this, so thanks again to the guys at the gear page who gave me a heads up. About the manual, it really needs a major update. Right now it reminds me way too much of the manual for my old Zoom 505, and not in a good way. The MG-300 has 1 input and 1 output, although the output is stereo via 1/4-inch TRS jack. There's no XLR out on this little guy though, so if that's important to you, you might want to look at the NUX Amp Academy. The MG-300 comes with 72 presets, 36 factory presets that can't be edited, and then another 36 user presets. Like so many of these low-cost units, the factory presets are mostly horrible. I credit that to 4 things: bad IRs, too much gain, too much delay, and too much reverb. How some companies can do this is just puzzling. Why would you want to make your unit sound bad? But supposedly these presets were all designed by third-party creators. I know for $149 I really shouldn't expect much better, but come on. You can go one of 3 ways. 1, leave the presets as is. 2, buy presets from third-party creators. Or 3, you can create your own presets. I'm going to go with the third option. I've downloaded some free IRs like Leon Todd's LTTV7 mix. This IR works in just about every situation. Thank you, Leon. Now, if you aren't checking out Leon's channel, you owe it to yourself to check out his stuff. He is no average hack, that's for sure. Like the Fractal modelers, you can do the editing from the front panel, but in my opinion, it's a lot easier to use the QuickTone editor. Here's a quick look at it. They use a skeuomorphic process, which means they graphically mimic their physical counterparts. I know Cliff has said he has no interest in this, but I sure wish that the Fractal editors use this process. It's just a far more pleasant experience for me to edit a preset with components that look like their real-world counterpart. For example, the Screamer Overdrive looks just like a real tube screamer pedal. The trade-off is that you can't go deep with various menu options like you can with your Fractal modeler. Another trade-off is that there are only 10 blocks: wah, comp, effects, amp, and then within the amp is the cabs, EQ, noise reduction, mod, delay, reverb, and preset level. The only blocks that can be moved are mod and delay. The rest are fixed. You can only use one instance of each block, so you can't have two effects blocks, for instance. But, I would say that for most weekend warriors, this won't be a problem. Keep in mind that this is your cheapo temp rig that just needs to get you through the rest of this gig. 36 presets should be enough for your basic bar or club gig. Now you can load one of your own IR files in each preset. There's a list of 27 built-in IRs plus user. And as you can see, I got the LT-TV mix installed. That really increases the value of this modeler. I don't know if I would keep it if I had to stay with the onboard IRs. But another trade-off is that if you aren't using the built-in IRs, you have to import your user IR for each preset. Here, if you click on user, the LT-TV mix isn't there, it's just this nondescript black cabinet. Click on it, and you get IR, where you can import, export, or delete, and you can also set the level. You just can't save user IRs to the menu for use in other presets. You have to repeat the entire process to use the same IR in another preset. It's really no big deal though. I mean, at least I haven't found it to be a big deal. I only have maybe a half dozen user IRs that work with the MG-300, so it's fairly easy to try them out and see which one works. The built-in expression pedal is a nice touch, but it's a mini expression pedal, and that takes a little time to get used to if you're used to the full size. It defaults to a volume pedal, but can be programmed to control other functions, like using it as a wah pedal. If your preset has the wah block, you can activate the wah by pressing down hard on the pedal. You'll see that the pedal button lights up. It doesn't have a physical switch that clicks, so I'm guessing that it has some kind of pressure-sensitive sensor. No idea how long that will last in a modeler of this type, but right now it works as expected. The double functionality is pretty cool. It's a volume pedal until you stomp on it, then it controls a parameter in one of the other blocks. Stomp again and it's back to a volume pedal. Now I think you might be able to do something like that with the Fractal modeler if you're using a Mission SP1 expression pedal. I've got one on order, so I'll see if I can replicate this. But there is no way to do this with your basic expression pedal and your Fractal modeler. At least not that I know of. Editing really is a breeze using the QuickTone editor. You can just right-click on any block and you'll get the list of available types for that block. If a block is present, click on it and you can see what parameters you have to work with. The wah block has no parameters that you can edit and is the first block in every preset. The comp block only has one type, the red comp. There are 12 effects types, 26 amp types, 27 cab types, plus the user IR, 1 EQ type, 1 noise reduction type, 13 mod types, 6 delay types, and 4 reverb types. And then in the preset leveler, you can set the level of the preset. It looks like they've modeled quite a few boss pedals. Now just about all guitarists have had at least one boss pedal, so it makes for a very familiar interface. For example, look at their CE1. I mean, it looks just like the real thing. I really do have to give NuX the thumbs up for their editor. Now, of course, the Fractal editors can do a lot more, but you may not need all that horsepower for your fill-in rig. The learning curve is pretty short, which is another big plus. The Fractal editors can go way deep, and they do take some time to figure out. You do not want to have to spend a lot of time learning how your fill-in rig works, and the QuickTone editor makes it easy to build some decent presets quickly. As Elantric said at the gear page, the MG-300 sounds like first-gen Fractal gear. Now, I can't say if that's a true statement, but so far no one has contradicted him. You wouldn't want the NUX MG-300 to replace your Fractal modeler, but yeah, it can probably fill in a pinch if necessary. Now, I didn't talk about the looper or drummer because you probably wouldn't be using either of them in a gig situation, but it does come with a looper and drummer that you can use when practicing by yourself. It also can be used as a USB interface with your PC or Mac. That's pretty darn versatile for $149. I spent an hour or so updating their presets. Like, let's see here. Let's go through the list of the ones I did. That one, that one. So that's it. I went through the first 20 presets. Let's see how they sound. I'll just step through a half dozen or so. Now, no one wants to have to buy and use temp backup gear, but finding something that works well and fits within your budget should help ease the pain. And, you know, at the end of it all, will the audience notice? Probably not, but you will, so find something that you're comfortable with. If the NUX MG-300 isn't the thing for you, you might want to take a look at their MG-400. It has 2 more foot switches and it has scenes. Now, from what I understand, it uses the same audio engine as the MG-300, but you know, it does have that extra flexibility. And it goes for $219, so that's, like I said, $70 more. If that's something that's really important to you, you might want to check that out. Next Wednesday, we'll be back at the factory, letting the random number generator pick out another preset for us to try. Now, you don't want to miss that, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. All right, guys, have a great weekend, and I will see you next Wednesday.